Good morning, student. So we have started this topic mechanism of nerves transmission. So in that we have seen the structure of nerve cells. Then we have also seen the concept of resting potential. Then action potential, right? So now you know what is meant by resting potential. You know the voltage in resting potential, the voltage in depolarization phase, the voltage in repolarization phase, the role of voltage gated sodium and calcium channel. So there is question for you, what is meant by hyperpolarization. So you can answer of this question in comment box. What is meant by hyperpolarization, and what is the voltage in the hyperpolarization. So in today's lecture we are going to see what is meant by chemical and electrical transmission. Before that I just want to revise two concept, what is meant by synapse. So synapse is a gap between two neurons, or it's a junction between two neurons where the transmission of information takes place. So that can be, the synapse can be between two neurons, or it is between the neurons and muscle cell. As I told you, the target cells can be different, for example muscle cell, or it can be any gland. So you can see in this diagram, so this is transmission between two neurons, as you can see, or it is can be transmission of information or nerve impulse between the neurons and the muscle cell, or between the nerve, or in between gland cell. So what is this synapse is made up of? It is made up of presynaptic and postsynaptic ending, right? So as you know, what is meant by pre and postsynaptic neuron, right? Presynaptic is a place where it can send information, and postsynaptic neuron is so this is the cell which receives the information. So presynaptic ending, this synapse is made up of presynaptic ending, postsynaptic ending, and there is space between these two, that is termed as a synaptic cleft. So presynaptic ending, which is made up of neurotransmitters, mitochondria, and which also consists of cell organelles, other cell organelles. Postsynaptic ending contains the receptor in the membrane of presynaptic neuron, and that will site for the attachment or for the binding of neurotransmitter. So in this diagram you can see, so this is presynaptic neuron and this is postsynaptic neuron. So this is space between these two, so that is synaptic cleft. So you can see in postsynaptic neuron you can see there are some organelles, as you can see in this diagram there is synaptic vesicles, right? So these are the neurotransmitter, you can see the blue dots. So what is the function of this synapse? So very simple, just transfer or transmit the information, and that takes place through the different mechanism like electrical and chemical transmission. So synaptic transmission, there are two types of synaptic transmission. One is electrical transmission and chemical transmission. So these are the two theories for explaining or for describing the function of synapse. So this is the way of communication between the neurons, or between the neurons and target cell. Keep in mind, synaptic transmission is the way of communication between the two nerve cells, or between the nerve cell and muscle cell, or between the nerve cell and any glands. And there are two types, electrical transmission and chemical transmission. So what is electrical transmission? So in this transmission, the two neurons, that is presynaptic and postsynaptic neurons, are connected, and they are connected through the gap junction. So this is the channel, I think you are familiar with gap junction, because this is the topic which come under cell junctions, and that is done in BSc Biotech, right? So gap junction, which is nothing but the channels, so that will allow the some ions or some molecule which has some molecular weight, so which can pass through it. So in electrical transmission, that information is transferred through the gap junction. So you can see in this diagram, so this is the membrane of presynaptic neuron, and this is the membrane of postsynaptic neuron, and these two membrane is connected through this gap junction, right? You can see, so there are 6 connexon. This gap junction is made up of six connexon, so you can see, and these are connected through this. So from this the molecules or the ion can easily pass. So this is the way of, or this is the way to transfer the information from one neuron to another neuron. So what is the advantage over the chemical transmission? So those are very fast compared to chemical transmission, and the information can be transferred by both the way, or it is bidirectional transfer of information. And these are these chemical transmission are found in the heart and the eye. But what is disadvantage over the chemical transmission? Those are less versatile and less flexible. The chemical transmission are more flexible and more versatile. So this is diagram you can use for this exam. You can see the space between these two neurons, it's 3.5 nanometer. So next is chemical transmission. So in this, the communication takes place through the chemical messenger or second messengers. So what are those? So those chemical messenger are nothing but neurotransmitters. So where are they are present? So this neurotransmitter, I will show you one diagram. So this is the simple diagram I have found on Google Images. So this is better for understanding. So you can see in this diagram, this is presynaptic neuron, right? So you can see in this diagram, in the presynaptic neuron there are some vesicles. So those are termed as synaptic vesicles. So what are synaptic vesicles? Those are nothing but single membrane bound cell organelles. So what is the role of that? So as I told you, in chemical synapse, the communication takes place through the chemicals or chemical messengers. Those are nothing but neurotransmitters, and those neurotransmitters are present in this vesicle, right? So we will back to, so when as you can see in this diagram, those vesicles are now present in this so those neurotransmitters are present in these vesicles, right? So when those are released, when the action potential triggers the presynaptic neuron, on this action potential generation, the neurotransmitter will be released. But that is not the simple way. So this release of neurotransmitter is dependent upon the calcium. So what happens when the action potential generated? So there is opening of voltage gated calcium channels. So due to that, what happened, there is higher concentration of calcium ion outside the neuron, so that will enter through this channel. So calcium will enter from outside to inside of the neuron, and that will cause the release of neurotransmitter in the synaptic cleft. You can see here, and after releasing the neurotransmitter in the synaptic cleft, so that will bind to the receptor which are present in the membrane of postsynaptic membrane. So you can see, so those red dots are neurotransmitter which is released from this vesicle upon the calcium entering in the plasma membrane of or inside of the neuron, and that will bind to the receptor. So these are the receptor which is present in the membrane of postsynaptic neuron. So this is the way of transferring information from one neuron to another neuron in case of chemical messenger chemical transmission. Or you can see this diagram. So both the diagram are very simple. So I will in next lecture we are going to see the neurotransmitter and their receptors, right? So in that we are going to see different types of neurotransmitter. For example, I will tell you one example of neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine. I think you are familiar with this acetylcholine, or we will see in tomorrow's lecture what is meant by acetylcholine. And along with that we are going to see what are excitatory and inhibitory neurons. For example, I will take another example of neurotransmitter is GABA, 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 alpha GABA. Okay. Sorry, this is about today's lecture. In tomorrow's lecture we are going to finish this topic. So in today's lecture there is question for you, what is meant by hyperpolarization. And if you don't know what is meant by gap junction, so this is the topic we are going to cover in last module of cell biology. So gap junction, that is the junction which is present between the two cell, where the from which the ion can pass from one cell to another cell. But all the ion cannot pass through this gap junction. There is a limitation. So that we will see in the next lecture, or the next topic when we are going to start that. So this is about today's lecture. Thank you.